Praise the Lord. I'm Andrew Singleton Jr., Senior Pastor of Victory Apostolic Church in Matheson, Illinois. And as always, I'm so glad to bring you another edition of Faithing the Facts. And this is a very special edition that I'm calling the Last Responders Edition. I am just so glad to have with me Charisse Roby, who is a co-owner with Robey Park Manor Funeral Home.
Praise the Lord, everyone. I am just so glad to be in the building because of social distancing. Of course, we haven't had a chance to meet here at church, just to be on the inside of the building.
So I'm so glad to have you with us. It's such a blessing to have you share with us here today. Can you give us some sense of how long your organization has been in existence?
Robey Park Manor Funeral Home has been in existence since August 28, 2006. That's the actual anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech.
Right.
So I thought that was perfect for us in our grand opening.
Well, you and your husband and co-owner Calvin have been the last responders for several members of Victory, which of course is your home church, and I'm your pastor. How has that role affected your understanding and mindset toward this COVID-19 pandemic?
Of course, in our profession, we deal with death all the time. The challenge has been that we're busier than we were previously. Not only are we busier, but it's always a careful balance in trying to be sensitive to the needs of our families, as well as following what the CDC guidelines are as far as us having services.
Mm-hmm.
As we service our families, these are families now that we see weekly in our house of worship. These are people that we know more so than servicing people that we don't know. And it's just strange right now when normally you wouldn't think twice about giving a hug to someone that's grieving, to let them know that I'm here to support you through this transition. But right now, of course, with social distancing, we can't reach out in the way that we're used to.
It is a very, very difficult and challenging time. And again, we're calling, these are the last responders. We've talked about the first and frontline responders, but the funeral home directors are the last responders. So one of my questions to you is, how do you protect yourselves since you are exposed every time you pick up bodies? I understand you'll be leaving and going shortly to pick up another body.
Absolutely. Once we receive that call, a lot of what we're doing today is actually by telephone. We send forms and documents that need to be signed electronically, and we try to make sure we narrow down before we actually pick the family member up. Are you planning on having a service with a viewing for the public, or you're not planning on having a service? The reason why that's important, if you're talking about someone that's being cremated, then there's no embalming required.
Okay.
If there's no embalming required, that means that COVID virus is still active.
Okay.
But everyone that's requiring and requesting a public service viewing, naturally we would need to embalm. With the social distancing guidelines, we have 10 people in the building at a time. So we've offered our families a day of visitation a day prior. That gives all of the family members and friends an opportunity to want to come out, pay their final respects, sign the guest book. We rotate them in and out of the building 10 at a time. And then on the day of the service, we've also adapted and adopted that we broadcast the services through social media.
Well, what I'm noticing from your answer is that you have really begun to address the problems and challenges with the increase in deaths, to also how you're doing funerals at Robey Park Manor Funeral Home. How does this also affect gravesite services and crematories?
Now at the gravesite and the crematory, well, let's speak for the gravesite first. of course, they are still following social distancing. They are telling us and reminding us that we need to inform our families. It's still only 10 people at the gravesite. As far as the crematory is concerned, crematories are overwhelmed right now because a lot of funeral homes, with their volume, is suggesting direct burial or direct cremation.
So let me interrupt. This is where we can all get an education. When she told me the bodies were backing up in the crematories, I'm like, all you got to do is, put them in the fire and it's over. And I got an education. That process is far more complicated than what we think. So could you elaborate on the processes that go on at the crematories?
Right. At our local crematory that we partner with, the average time for cremation is approximately an hour and a half, 2 hours. Our crematory has 6 retorts. Retorts are the machines that they actually use to cremate the remains. If you consider an 8-hour shift in one crematory retort, you could only do 4 cases for an 8-hour day. So if you're only doing 4 cases per retort and there's 6 retorts, then over a course of a day, you haven't cremated that many people, but our volume has doubled and almost tripled at this point as far as cases that need to be serviced. If you're working 3 shifts in a day, you still haven't cremated 100 people, which is creating serious backlog for our crematory.
Wow.
So it's at the point where my husband and partner is not even allowing me to go to the crematory because of the active viruses that are there just to protect me, to protect our business.
Wow. That's an outstanding answer. And I was talking with another funeral home director who made this comment to me. He said, Pastor Singleton, we have an assembly line going. So we need to pray as I close to all of these last responders who not only are last, but also, as you've just heard, they're also very seriously or potentially exposed to this virus. They need to have prayer as well. But similar to me, some of us have jobs to do. We must do them in the best way we can in the climate and atmosphere that we are in with this COVID-19. But I tell you, this too will end. So I say to you, keep the faith, stay healthy, and stay safe.
God bless you.